Good evening, I'm Matt Mulcahy. Welcome to our special Up Close broadcast. Over the next hour, we'll take a look back at a collection of our top up-close interviews that aired throughout the year. We covered a remarkable selection of our community's brightest leaders in business and politics, law enforcement and development, athletics, and the arts. We'll walk through the construction site of the new Onondaga Lakeview Amphitheater with County Executive Joni Mahoney. The venue is now complete, but last spring it was a rush to get it done. We will tour the brand new hotel being built at Syracuse's Inner Harbor. It's nearly ready to open. The president of COR Development gave us a glimpse of the future in the early phases of construction. And what makes these leaders tick?
Nothing's like putting them in a situation to learn and get better and being a mentor. That's why I love it. That's why I love coaching. It juices me.
Becky Thompson talked about being the first woman to rise to the rank of Deputy Chief of the Syracuse Police, but also about her vivid memories of the day her friend, Officer Wally Howard, was shot and killed 25 years ago. And Law & Order SVU actor Karis Vucek returned to her hometown to talk about getting her start on stage at Liverpool High and the challenge of adding director and producer to her credits. Supermodel Emmy also returned to her Syracuse roots. What's it like for you to come back to Syracuse? You know, you have some roots here going back a few years. What's it like? You love it?
I love coming back. I love, love, love.
We'll get to all of them in just a few minutes, but first we begin with the man who is thoroughly enjoying his elected position, serving the people of Central New York as their congressman. When we caught up with John Katko, his first term in office was just underway. The House had just passed the first two pieces of legislation Katko sponsored. It was an exciting start in office for a man who had never run for office before. We went to Washington to go up close with John Katko. At every turn, there's American history. Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln. They are the foundation of the U.S. Capitol.
You look up at the top of the statue, see where that is? Yeah. The stairs go all the way up there.
For a first-term member of Congress, everything is new.
I like walking out this way because on the side entrance right here is where you can go into the house entrance.
John Katko beams with pride as he walks Independence Avenue.
That's where I work. I've never said that before. Yeah. It's like, oh, that's pretty cool.
His office is next door in the Longworth office building. A lottery placed him in one of the premier offices of all the freshmen. What's different between running a campaign and being home and then becoming somebody who's actually governing like this?
Everything. It's totally different. I can't even believe the difference. You're out talking more on a general scale, and you're talking about general arguments, introducing yourself to people on the campaign trail and making your arguments and your positions. But now it's time to roll up the sleeves and get to work.
He has chaired his first subcommittee hearing that focused on airport security. He also sits on a key transportation committee that controls the highway bill. That ultimately could mean funding for the I-81 rebuild in Syracuse.
What you do now is going to be judged for the next 2 years, and so you got to get off on the right foot and you got to start doing things right. It's very, very different, and it's really learning a completely new job and a new craft, and it's exciting, it's difficult, but it's very exciting, and it's a high honor.
Let's do more to restore the link between hard work and growing opportunity for every American.
For a freshman member of the House, John Katko, this was his first State of the Union. It was a night that he'll forever remember.
You're part of history, and so how was it anything other than exciting? I mean, it's especially my first time, so it's a high honor, and it kind of reinforces that you're in the big leagues here.
The bill is passed.
Reaching the big leagues demands being a quick study. Congressman Katko has had 2 sponsored bills pass in the House. He has cast many votes. Most are about process and moving a bill through the chamber. He calls the rules governing the House arcane. Does it feel like that process, when you first saw it, when somebody first explained this to you, did you feel like, why do we do it this way? Or do you feel like, hey, this is a great tradition, it's worked for our country, that we should be continuing these great traditions? Or is it maybe a little both?
It was a mix of both, for sure, because at some point it's like, this is crazy, why do you do it this way? But I understand there's like a rules process, and if you didn't have the rules, it would probably devolve into chaos. So it makes sense that they have to have the rules.
Even with the rules, Katko has been surprised by House leadership quickly laying responsibility on his shoulders, especially with Homeland Security, where his background as a federal prosecutor brings him stature. There seems to be some rivalry, some Capitol Hill rivalry, that the Senate and the House don't necessarily cross paths that much. Is that, you experiencing that?
Of course. It was like Bishop London CBA when I was in high school, man. Same thing. There are your counterparts. They're not really your rivals, but it's competition, I guess, to some extent. Who's better and who gets more things done and who can get more things done.
You guys are sending a fighter to Washington, I can guarantee you that.
More than 3 months had passed since the elation of election night. Getting it done now means sleeping on the couch in his congressional office, showering in the house gym, and being away from family. How's this new professional life mixing with home, and how's that going so far?
It's an adjustment for my kids, and it's certainly an adjustment for my wife. She has teenage kids at home, and that's an adjustment. It's hard. It's everyone's sacrificing. I'm sacrificing. They're sacrificing. But we made a decision about a year ago, sitting at our kitchen table, that we were going to take this shot, and we understood the sacrifices that would happen if we were successful. And understanding them and going through them are two different things, but we're adjusting, and I'm confident over time we're going to be real good.
Oh, yeah, it's very cool.
One step at a time.
It's not, this gym has got to be the deepest.
The new member on the Hill gets his feet wet, taking inspiration from the founders as he writes page 1 of his congressional record. The congressman told me it was only the second day of freshman orientation when Republican leadership told him it was already time to think about re-election. As 2015 comes to a close, he's just 11 months away from his first attempt at being re-elected. Well, up next on Up Close, he's less than 3 years away from taking over for Jim Boeheim as the head of Syracuse basketball. In a moment, Mike Hopkins talks about why the strength of the Orange is family. Welcome back to Up Close. He's called one of the most feared college basketball recruiters in the country. Syracuse assistant coach Mike Hopkins is one of the best in the game. Hopkins is in line to replace Jim Boeheim when the Hall of Famer retires in less than 3 years. Hopkins has already been filling in during Coach Boeheim's suspension. Now, before the NCAA ruling came down last spring, I went up close with Mike Hopkins to find out what makes him a success.
That's what we're doing down there. It's the same thing. That's why we were doing it in practice today.
He motivates.
Now, if he goes inside, ball, now he dives. Right there, bounce.
He teaches.
Good. Stay down in your puck there. Show the eyes.
He relates.
Hey, go give one of those bang bang shrimp off the rims like you did down there. Like that's what you do.
Coach Mike Hopkins has a 20-year history of success at Syracuse, shaping lives of recruits, players, and professionals.
Nothing's like putting them in a situation to learn and get better and being a mentor. That's why I love it. That's why I love coaching. It juices me.
That's it. Throw it. Good. That's perfect, DC.
The team captain on Jim Boeheim's Big East championship squad in the early 1990s, Hopkins now has an elite reputation for developing players and recruiting the next generation.
What qualities that you bring that are clearly are genuine, but when you're
I think a big thing for recruit, like, you know, number one, I think the misconception about recruiting is we get a lot of credit, obviously, for recruiting, but one of the guys, I mean, Coach Boeheim's a closer. He's as good as it gets.
They're overplaying that. You know, you're a big gap.
what do parents want to know from you? What kind of
Well, one of the
reassurance do
things
they
I
want?
like, listen, at the end of the day, I'll treat your son like he's my son. At the end of the day, everybody can be there when it's good. Who's going to be there when it's tough? Like the Villanova game, I made a dime.
That's what I'm saying. Did you see it?
Yeah.
The mic.
But also,
The all-Syracuse coaching staff is a source of great pride for Mike Hopkins. Adrian Autry was his backcourt mate. He recruited Jerry McNamara. Few programs can make that claim of loyalty and legacy.
I like to say family first, family forever. I mean, we're one of 2 schools that their whole entire staff went to Syracuse and played here, and I think that's a huge advantage. And like I said, it's sincere, it's authentic, it's real, it's not phony, and I think that at the end of the day wins.
Coach Hopkins can't go more than a few minutes without extolling the virtues of Jim Boeheim. After all, the Hall of Famer gave him his big break when he hired the former player who had never coached before.
So I thought it was down and out in Beverly Hills, man. I thought it was over. Like, my dad can't hire me. I've been fired more times in the last year and a half. I can't play. I have no ambition to play basketball again, and I'm watching the O.J. Simpson trial, depressed, eating Fritos on the couch, trying to get up. And at the end of the day, I started giving the individual lessons, and it was like this timing, oh, I'm coaching. And that's why I think it's my calling. I believe that, you know, someone was looking down on me.
What do you think his future is? Does he secretly tell,
You know, like,
does he secretly tell you in the...
No. At the end of the day, like Syracuse people in general, the college basketball world, the ACC, everybody should want him to coach until he's 90. because like there's not coaches like him anymore.
Get up there, take away his airspace. Good. That's it.
And not many like the one patiently awaiting his turn to ascend. He lives each day with the philosophy, work hard and good things will happen.
Job, Doyen. Good athleticism, Doy. Hey, good job.
Now, this last spring, the university officially signed Mike Hopkins as the next head coach of Syracuse basketball. He's already proven he's ready for the post-Boeheim era at the Dome. Up next on Up Close, the busiest developer in all of Central New York is a company called COR Development, COR meaning heart. We'll talk with the company president about some of the highest profile projects that have gone up in the Syracuse region. Welcome back to Up Close. Syracuse's Inner Harbor now has a nearly finished hotel. The head of COR Development says within less than 5 years, people will be living, working, and playing at the Inner Harbor. As we went up close with president of COR last spring, we got an exclusive look inside a new nanotechnology film studio and from the top of the new Aloft Hotel.
Because it's obviously Starwood's a great national brand, and putting their footprint on the Inner Harbor is a seal of confidence in the redevelopment.
The last piece bridging the gap between downtown Syracuse and Destiny. The long-awaited development of the Inner Harbor is moving ahead in the shadow of Syracuse's north side where Steve Aiello grew up.
This doesn't sound like something that we've seen in Syracuse before.
Not really.
Like in other, like a Baltimore or wherever.
Exactly.
Inner Harbor projects.
Actually, you know, it is almost like a small-scale Baltimore Inner Harbor.
A Starwood Aloft Hotel is first. A Starwood Element extended stay is a year away. Later this year, construction begins on the SUNY ESF Water Research and Educational Center. By this fall, initial work on mixed-use retail and apartments, which will create a new neighborhood on the west side of the harbor.
Once the first couple buildings go up, I think people will be shocked how quickly the development picks up. And all of a sudden, you know, people have, you know, they can own it, they can feel it, and even from a tenant perspective, now they're not the first guy in.
Yeah.
You know, they're all of a sudden they say there's a real vibrant.
It doesn't have to be just imagination.
Yeah.
Imagination meets nanotechnology in DeWitt. COR is the preferred developer for the Central New York hub for emerging nano industries. Construction crews are on a tight schedule to prepare a Hollywood-type studio for the film house.
Like anything we've ever built, we just, you know, you have to do the research and understand what's the best product you can give the prospective client. And so we went out to Los Angeles. We looked at some studios out there. We hired a consultant who's been involved in a lot of the studios and MGM and places like that. And you know, we were able to give them the best products.
This first look inside this studio shows 50-foot high studio ceilings that will be surrounded by production bays. The goal of the Nano Hub is to make Central New York a leader in next-generation computer imagery, animation, and motion capture technology.
What do you think it'll be like in 5 years then?
I mean, I think that this will be a vibrant area. A lot of the industry is driven to where they can get the best tax breaks.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the advantage of, you know, putting upstate New York on an even playing field.
Right.
You know,
instead of letting them go somewhere else because they got a better.
Whether it be Louisiana or wherever, you know, the hot state is that they can get the best economic. It's all, you know, dollar driven.
Startup New York offers businesses connected to a university 10 years of tax-free operation. That includes no state income tax for employees for jobs that are newly created.
With both state government and local government, we have a governor who's really supportive of upstate and redeveloping upstate, and they become like a great partner in these projects. So, and a lot of local government has been very supportive as well. They see the importance of this.
The COR partners are major political donors to all levels of government, but political connections do not alter COR's responsibility when it comes to deadlines at the Inner Harbor.
They've taken great pains to make sure that this property just doesn't sit for 10 years without getting development. So every 2 years I have to commence a different phase of the project.
But you're okay with it?
We're on track with it, yeah. That's what we do.
And they're doing it all across upstate New York, seeing opportunity right here at home. Now, since we went up close with Steve Aiello last spring, several motion pictures have used the new Nanotech Studios as a project base for feature films. The new hotel, it's on the verge of opening. Up next, country superstar Miranda Lambert took the stage at the new Lakeview Amphitheater this summer. As we go up close with County Executive Joni Mahoney, she explains how spending millions on a concert venue can help the whole community. Welcome back. Construction of the Onondaga Lakeview Amphitheater was on a fast track from the beginning. The blessing of Governor Cuomo and the ambitious leadership of Joni Mahoney helped this new arts venue open on schedule during the state fair. It's a location with a grand view of Onondaga Lake. Our exclusive up-close interview with the county executive took us inside the construction site while it was a work in progress.
The artists will come down around the back and bring their trailers right in. There'll be, I think, 4 loading docks.
The Lakeside Amphitheater is taking shape.
4 pieces of steel are up.
Well, we put a corner up, which is 3 columns, but you need to cross brace them, so there's 5.
Oh, thank you very much.
Construction team members pulling together to meet a tight deadline. What's the vista here? What are we looking at? The first concert on the shore of Onondaga Lake by Labor Day. Once it's all built and this is a concert night, is this sort of where we come in?
Yes.
Roughly?
Yes. We passed the site where the box office will be, and that's a little bit of a walk. And I think people are going to be really surprised when they come through that new box office and make their way down here to this view of the lake that I myself had not seen until within this last year when we came out here. We brought the governor out here when we pitched this whole idea. And when folks are sitting on the lawn, which is being created right now, this slope, when folks are sitting on the lawn and they're at a concert, they're going to see the lake behind them. It's just going to be spectacular.
When complete, this public park will have 5,000 seats under cover, another 12,000 on the lawn. So if I have lawn seats, I'm pretty close to my seat already.
You are. You will see the topsoil headed.
I got topsoil seats right now. The business plan is to have 15 shows per summer. Fans of top artists that typically hit Saratoga or Canandaigua would come to Syracuse instead and make a weekend of it, including hotels, restaurants, shopping, and the concert. When people see that this is getting done, not knowing what's happening behind this hill, by the way, they say, why are you wasting our money on the amphitheater? We don't need to have concerts here. We have holes in our streets. We have water mains breaking. What's the answer to that question?
And I am trying so hard to help people understand. I know people are busy in their daily life, but there's an impression that we pay for county government with property tax. That is no longer the case. We have really reduced your property taxes at the county level because we're using more sales tax. So we have to invest in economic engines that are going to bring people to the community. That's why you pick something like the amphitheater. And then in round numbers, the amphitheater is about a $50 million project. It will pour about $20 million annually into this local economy once it's being used to its full capacity. Once we have a full season here, that is a very good investment for us. So if you want your potholes fixed, you should support projects like this that are going to bring people to town with sales tax dollars to do that.
This lakefront property has gone unused for a century because of the industrial waste that filled this hill. Is it safe? As this gets turned up, and we see like little samples of this white chalky stuff.
Yep.
And some of that's probably the stuff that's been left behind, right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not saying you're a hydrologist or geologist, but
yes.
How do you alleviate the public's concern about that? I mean, I've read the reports. It shows that there'll be ground covering. The greatest concern is for maybe the guys who are working this heavy equipment right now. But once it's open, what do you say to the public about, you know, the soil and the material this is being built on?
I would say, generally speaking, that we're making lemonade out of lemons. I would not, and I don't think anybody else would in 2015 decide to dump the way we did, but it is not the toxic substance that I think people think it is. It's the residual from the soda ash process, and it is inert. And the thing that should make folks comfortable is there is not a piece of land that has been more studied from the environmental groups, the EPA, the DEC. This is a Superfund site, and we know what's here. There are monitors all over this site monitoring the air quality. The workers have the monitors right on them to make sure that their own personal environment is safe. And we have a ground cover plan that is going to make it so that you can, be on the lawn and it will all be safe. And to take what was an eyesore and turn it into this facility, I think, as I said, is, the best thing I can tell you is we're making lemonade out of lemons. You and I didn't put it here.
Right.
We're making the best of it.
Right. Making the best of a lake, making a return to prominence, unseen in generations. So you're going to have like a Joni Mahoney bench?
Yeah, probably.
Or actually,
brought to you.
Everybody has to get something named after them.
You haven't seen any Bernie Mahoney buildings, right? You won't see any Joni Mahoney buildings.
Well, the ambitious schedule for the amphitheater was made possible when New York State approved this as a design-build project. The only other such project in New York, the Tappan Zee Bridge. As Up Close continues, we talk with one of the visionaries in a scrapyard and to some of the most desirable properties in Syracuse. Bruce Keenan reveals how he teamed up with his partner. Welcome back to Up Close. I'm Matt Mulcahy. 25 years ago this fall, construction crews rushed to complete the Carousel Center Mall before the holiday shopping season arrived. They worked around the clock to turn the former Marley scrapyard into a mega retail destination. The Pyramid Companies and founder Bob Conjal created the vision that today is Destiny USA. Bob Conjal's partner throughout it all, Bruce Keenan, who still shows up for work every morning at 6:30 at the Pyramid Companies downtown.
Of course, these buildings were all empty. They'd been, at one time or another, they'd been factories, and then the Mission Landing over here, the rescue mission, occupied. As a former architect, you look at these buildings and you just know you can make something great out of these buildings.
Well, I was going to ask you, what was the inspiration? Like, why did you think this could be what it is now?
Well, first of all, the inspiration was Bob Conjal. Okay, Bob is one of these indomitable spirits that sees something and knows that it can be better, and he's a visionary.
Did you expect then that this is what it would be like once completed? Was that Bob's vision?
I'd love to be able to say this is exactly what we envisioned, but we envisioned that we were going to make it a nice pedestrian neighborhood. We buried all the utilities. We put in the brick sidewalks and the street trees and the period street lamps.
They built a business and residential community that sparked a downtown living rebirth. It started a quarter century ago. What's work life for you these days? Are you working as full-time as ever or less?
Well, I've cut back to 11 hours a day.
Good. How did you and Bob Conjal start working together? Do you remember?
I designed a wine cellar for his house when I was an architect.
That was 45 years ago. Are the partners who led the group that built Destiny ready to put a bow on this project?
No, I don't think it'll look this way in 5 or 10 years, because I think we will have built more things onto it. Those things are moving around, so I can't tell you what it'll look like, but no, I expect the complexion will change. Bob still has ideas in his head, and I have ideas in my head that we're working on actively, and they may happen, or they may not. That's part of having vision. Some things happen and some don't. But we're working on some stuff that could be very transformative here if it all comes together.
The most likely idea is a hotel. Proposals have come and gone, but they remain a high priority. Could this ever be sold?
It could be.
Is there a market for selling in the current window? Is a lot of that happening?
There are windows, they come and they go. I know that because we do, from time to time, look at selling properties.
Keenan quickly adds if the right buyer comes along one day, the mall and its 6,000 jobs, they would stay right where they are.
If we keep building and if we build more things going down the road, do we extend this bridge overhead over the parking lot?
Sure. 3 years after the rebranding of Carousel Center into Destiny USA, work continues.
We're not done. We still have spaces that we're filling. We have tenants that come and go. It's never ending. The restaurant complex on the first floor, absolutely. I think it's made a big difference in how people plan their weekends and so on.
The era of pyramid building giant new malls across the Northeast has passed, but there's still work to do. If you're not in that period of being able to expand and buy or build another new mall, how do you define what you guys all get together at 6:30 in the morning to talk about and operate each day?
Well, of course, it's an operating business. It's a major scale from a real estate point of view. It's a major scale operating business. And what we do, and what you met Aiden does, is to drive visitation. And the bigger this property got, the further distance people would travel to get here.
Now, the Destiny team estimates 29 million guests will have visited this year. Canadian customers account for 1/4 of all the sales. You've seen her in magazines and on television. She's an author and the most famous plus-size supermodel. As we go up close with Emmy, she tells us why she decided to take a new approach to changing the world of fashion. Plus-size supermodel Emmy is a Syracuse University graduate. She teamed up with her alma mater for a new program called Fashion Without Limits. It gives design students the opportunity to make clothing that fits normal or plus-sized women. I talked with Emmy in our up-close segment at the Warehouse in Armory Square. What's it like for you to come back to Syracuse? You know, you have some roots here going back a few years. What's it like? You love it?
I love coming back. I love, love, love being on campus. I get that flip in my heart and I get excited.
What do you see in these students? You know, you talk about that flip in your heart. What's that mean?
Possibility. The flip in the heart when I arrive on campus makes me excited to see in their eyes that they have hope and they have dreams to happen and they have goals to achieve, and it's nice to be a part of that again.
Standardized testing, where we explore school uniforms and conformity in dress.
Emmy is back on the Hill to judge student designs at the annual Fashion and Beauty Communications Milestone Fashion Show.
Syracuse University, Fashion Without Limits, was birthed out of many, many years of trying to change a system one particular way and going against that door and knocking and knocking and knocking without the door opening.
Emmy is working to open those doors. The finale of the show included models wearing the designs from Fashion Without Limits. Even just being in this space here, which is so unique, and seeing these young faces and they're immersed in their patterns and designs, it's energizing.
It's very energizing to see the students working with the patterns, their ideas becoming a reality. And that's the best part of creativity, is to say, yes, it is possible. You just have to think it, and it can become. And this is what happens at, VPA. This is what VPA is all about.
The fashion design program at the Warehouse in Armory Square now has the benefit of designing on forms that are not the industry standard of size 6.
Whether she's size 0 or whether she's size 24, 22, 18, we want to include all women in the fashion quotient, and I think it's extremely possible here at Syracuse University.
It seems impossible to me that that has not been considered before.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, we've had all sizes of women forever, right?
I know.
This is not a new invention.
Fashion is not exclusive. It's been told to us that it's an exclusive club, that only a few are let in and a few will look fashionable. Well, we want to kind of turn that over and create a tipping point and include women in the fashion concept, idea, excitement, party, the fashion party. Everyone should be involved. There's a conservative woman, there's a grunge woman, there's a rocking chick woman, there's a woman that likes to have, a little bit more of that clean aesthetic. Well, that should be reflected in full-figured as well, not one boxy size or fit for all. No more, no more. We don't want that any longer. 16, 18, 20, this represents 100 million women, these 3 forms right here.
While Emmy works on her clothing line, her writing, and raising her 13-year-old daughter, she also preaches the importance of physicality. She wants people to get out and move. She treasures life after surviving Hopkins.
Having been challenged with cancer, I hold on a little tighter to this existence here. I don't want to have anything premature pop up and I got out too early. I need 9 lives already. Yeah. I want all that comes to me. And so taking care of my body is just going to help me get to be nicely old and gray. I hope.
I can't imagine it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I hope so.
You're not going to be old and gray.
Oh, okay. Forever young.
Actually, they're just going to put you in the mannequin right back in the room.
Oh, no.
And you come out again and you look that way again,
oh,
right?
No.
Isn't that how it works? We had fun talking. Fashion Without Limits is now being integrated into all 4 years of the fashion design program at Syracuse University. Well, the Syracuse Police Force has never had a woman in a position of leadership at a level as high as Deputy Chief. Becky Thompson has defied the odds. As we go up close with Chief Thompson, she tells us about one day on the job that she'll never forget. Welcome back to Up Close. I'm Matt Mulcahy. 25 years ago this past fall, Becky Thompson was right in the middle of the darkest day of the Syracuse Police Department in nearly a century, the shooting of Officer Wally Howard. It's a day that changed her life. As we go up close with Thompson, all these years later, she wears brass stars like no other woman in the department's 167 years.
You know, today is a day almost just like the day Wally was shot. Sunny, I think it was a little warmer. It was just a beautiful fall day in Syracuse.
She routinely returns to the worst day of her life. That day you were over at the shoe store then?
Yes.
You were in a car or a van?
We were in a minivan, actually.
Most would stay away, but not Becky Thompson.
What money?
At that moment, it was chaotic. Everything kind of crashed in. When we got to Wally, his door was locked. So we had to break the window behind him in order to unlock the door to get to him.
She embraces the past. It's made her who she is today.
I had the city portable radio, so I was the one that called for an ambulance. We got Wally out of the car, and we knew it wasn't good.
The darkest day for a proud Syracuse police force. A quarter century later, the grief remains.
You know, I can't say that I don't shed a tear or two, because I do. It's still hard.
Yet she accepts the challenge. This daughter of a 22-year veteran of the Syracuse police grew up wanting to follow her father. She took the exam at 19, hired at 20. A year and a half later, she was working undercover making drug buys when cocaine and crack littered our community. Cocaine.
You know, this corner where you're standing, a lot of drugs are being sold.
Crack.
We watch them very closely.
Cash. No longer living in the dangerous world of the overnight shift, Becky Thompson is now the Uniform Bureau Deputy Chief, in charge of most of the men and women in uniform.
I like dealing with the public. We are the first responders. We are the 911 responders. You know, we're the first people that go no matter what the situation is. And so it's an honor and a privilege for me to be able to be in command of the men and women that work in this city.
No other woman has ever risen as high in the ranks of the SPD. Did you aspire to be in the position you're in today?
I wanted to have rank. I wanted to take the sergeant's test. I knew I wanted to be a sergeant, maybe a lieutenant. I never dreamt of being a deputy chief. You know, but as the opportunities presented themselves, certainly I wasn't going to turn it down. It didn't start out being because I wanted to progress women. It was really more of a selfish matter because I was the mom. I did have children. I established a family, and there were certain policies that I just didn't think were fair. And it wasn't necessarily to change it because I was a woman, but to change it because of the circumstance I was in.
She recently was the statewide president of Women in Law Enforcement. She believes diversity strengthens the force, whether it be cultural, racial, or gender. Do you have a sense of being a woman in this position that nobody's ever been in that position before? Is that important? Somebody have to be first?
Yes, it is important, and somebody does have to be first. And I know that behind me will be a line of very competent, very professional, very successful women. So I don't believe that by any means I will be the last.
Chief Thompson is the last working member of the Central New York Drug Task Force who was on the job the day drug dealers shot and killed Officer Wally Howard.
It took me a long time to really be able to sit down and think hard and long and come to grips with what happened, and if something could have been different, if there was something I could have done or we could have done.
and it required a lot of faith, and I think really relying on the people that were there that day.
Plus the exceptional officer whose life ended that sunny October day.
I can't say that every call I have ever went on that Wally crosses my mind, but he crosses my mind every day. So he's a part of who I am today because of what happened. So I'll give him credit.
Credit to the partner, the friend with the infectious smile who loved life, only to have his end too soon. Becky Thompson's been on the force for more than 30 years. I asked her if she could see herself one day being the chief. She says after seeing how demanding the job is for Chief Frank Fowler, she's pretty happy where she is right now. Well, another Central New Yorker happy with her choice to follow her dream of being an actor. Next, we go up close with Karis Vucek. She reveals the nerves that come with being on location on a primetime show. She is an actor, a writer, and producer who has taken her talents from the stage of Liverpool High School to New York City and beyond. In October, Karis Vucek had her most screen time ever in her recurring role of Detective Campisi on Law & Order SVU. Tonight, we go up close with Karis on the stage where she got her start at Liverpool High.
It brings back a lot of memories.
Memories of hours of rehearsals.
The pit would go right up there, and then some of the actors there, but if I'm talking over here, not so much.
Teachers and directors.
Now this has not changed. You're right.
Legacy. You're going to see a lot of names.
Well, there's your brother.
There's your brother.
Yeah. And a wall full of friends, hoping to be remembered a generation later.
Smile, everybody.
It seems bigger than what I remember.
Yeah.
I think I've been in theaters professionally that have had smaller seating capacity around the country. So this to come back and look at this and think of this is it's pretty wonderful. I always enjoyed this theater, the space. In high school, I think we had a great time. Many people don't know this, but you know, Matt and I were in The Paper Chase together. It was one of my first lead roles at Liverpool.
I remember.
The Paper Chase. I was Hart. She was Susan.
Really young.
Yeah,
when we
really
look back
young.
at those pictures.
Yeah.
We're really young.
Super young. And nearly not knowing very much, but just having this kind of wild heart passion for what we wanted to do.
Did you have any idea then that you'd still be doing this stuff now?
That's a great question. I think I dreamed that I would be doing something. I don't know. I think I did want to be doing this all along. It was fun. It was always challenging. Taking something off the page, which is what I really enjoy most, is having just the words on the page, and then 6 weeks later you have something that you're doing in front of an audience and you're sharing the experience with them. And that's what I love about theater the most, is that you are clearly in an exchange with, you're here, and everyone is telling the story, hopefully on the same page of what the playwright and the director and the collective is trying to tell. And then there's an immediate exchange with the audience. And they react, and you, if you're open enough and still can hold on to what you're doing, of course, you're responding to them. And their energy affects you. That's the most exciting part of theater for me.
Theater is not her only arena.
She's a good shoot, Captain. He ran.
There's movies and television, where she takes her craft from a live audience to a busy set, where the immediate audience is her fellow team members on Law & Order SVU.
You're Detective Campisi.
Detective Louise Campisi.
We all know that, yeah.
Very proud of that and very grateful to more enlighten that whole team. It's just they're an amazing group of people. There are so many people. There's the director, there's the first AD, the second AD, there's the camera assistants, there's your cast members. So it really is still live performance, because they're recording you live, and that tape is going to be what they cut the show from, what they create the show. So you really do get that interaction, especially with your co-stars, your fellow actors. And then you have a bunch of people in another room, typically referred to as Video Village, watching your performance. So talk about a little bit of knowing that that's where the money is sitting, and you better get your lines right.
Yeah.
So
a little pressure.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. You're acting in that was taking place whether you had a line or not.
Correct.
That the looks, the way you're standing, your posture,
what you're doing in the
being
back.
defensive in the way you stand,
right?
The way you drink a shot of whiskey.
Right.
there's a lot of subtlety. The whiskey maybe not so much.
You want to know? I know you really want to know. Was it?
Yeah. Was it really whiskey?
The first 4 times. No.
You don't have to give away your secrets.
No, that was my mother's first question. What are you drinking on set? Colored water.
But there's subtlety.
There is a lot of subtlety, and you are always on, so you need to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. If you were really in that setting, in that scene, in the hospital, on the street, in the background, and then they are focusing on the leads at that point, just like they would be doing when you're speaking, but you're still always participating in the action and the telling of the story. It's painless. Why? Pepper Project is ex-CIA super sniper Pepper and her boys Friday must solve a series of increasingly dangerous puzzles in order to find her missing sister.
Really?
She created Pepper. She wrote it. She directed and produced it so she and her friends could work. She describes the look of Pepper as sexy, shot in a nouveau noir style. The film festival circuit on both coasts has put her in front of industry people as a filmmaker, but her calling for the stage remains.
If somebody said, you're on tomorrow night on stage, you're in.
I'm waiting for Syracuse Stage to call, and you better keep this in the interview. Tim
Why
Bond,
not?
come on. I would absolutely love to be in a play here in Syracuse.
As of right now, no word on whether she'll be in a play in Syracuse anytime soon. We hope so. While Karis constantly works to find the next acting job, she's also getting the attention of industry producers, wanting to talk more to her about her Pepper project. She's working to secure a production partner at places like HBO, Amazon, or Hulu. And just think, it all started on the stage of Liverpool High School just a few years ago. Well, that is our Up Close special. Thanks for joining us tonight. It's been a terrific year of interviewing some of the best and brightest in our community. I'm Matt Mulcahy. Have a great night.